Joining me today is one of Colorado's best and most underrated transfer portal additions. Let's meet him.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I'm your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsors over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. We're also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network in the business. Joining me today is Nate Mitchell. Nate, appreciate you hopping on. We know you're moving in. We could see you got the empty room behind you. The furniture's all coming in, right?
Most definitely. Yeah, I just got in here a couple of days ago, and just thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be on here.
Yeah, excited to have you on. Nate's getting to enjoy the perks of moving. I just moved as well, Nate. It doesn't get any better until it's done. Just being real. Until it's done, it sucks.
I'm feeling that right now.
We're gonna talk about your journey, why you picked Colorado, and then your personal goals. And so, if you look up Nate Mitchell on 24/7 or whatever your preferred recruiting service is, as a recruit, and we talked about this off air, so don't think I'm just like bashing the guy to his face. 0 stars out of Temple, Texas. You had 5 offers, right? It was New Mexico State, BYU, the military academies, and someone else. And I think it's very evident right away that you bet on yourself, right? Because a lot of people, especially in your position, would have chased those big offers, but that's not the best opportunity for them, right? So walk me through what it was like as a recruit to maybe not get the attention you thought you deserved, and then walk me through your journey to New Mexico State.
Yeah, well, I grew up around a lot of good football players, and just growing up, I went to a lot of camps and a lot of college camps and things of that nature, and 24/7 things. I went to all the camps and combines you could think of, but I just never really got the looks I felt that I deserved. I didn't really it didn't really get to my head too much. It just made me work harder. I know that I'm a smaller guy, and I have a lot of things that I got to show that I can do, but just to get to this point in my journey and just all the things that I've been through to get to this point has been awesome.
Yeah, and so you end up at New Mexico State. I don't know if that was like a culture shock for you coming from Texas, which is relatively a ginormous like state. And even if Temple is sort of like a smaller town, I do feel like Texas as a whole just has like a really big energy to it. So you're at New Mexico, and there has to be a moment where it clicks for you, right? I think as players and athletes, everyone's confident where it's like, I believe in myself. But what was your moment where it's like, okay, I'm built for this and possibly beyond?
I think, at the beginning of this season, I got really comfortable in the position that I was at. That was a big thing for me going into this year. I played corner my freshman year, and then I played nickel my sophomore year, and then finally this year I got to play free safety. And they just let me play free, really, and just be an athlete. Because I'm a pretty versatile player. So once I got the opportunity to have a scheme around me and just be able to play free, it was just awesome to be able to go out there and produce for my team. And as you could tell, the stats came with it. I showed what I can do, and I got to this point, so we're going to keep it going.
All conference selection too. Big year. So let's talk about the move from nickel and corner to safety. Was it something you chose, or was it something that they were like, hey, we think this could work for you? And then walk us through like what you view the differences as.
Well, so I played safety in high school. Growing up pretty much. I played safety my whole life. I started my freshman year in high school, and then eventually when I got to college, I knew that I didn't really know where I was going to play because, I wasn't the biggest. I was probably like $165, 67, something like that. And
need a little protein shake every once in a while.
Yeah, no, most definitely. But I walked in, and it was Jerry Kill that used to. Jerry Kill don't play, so I walked in, and as soon as I got there, they put me in the corners room, and I didn't really think nothing of it. I was coming in there to work, and eventually I played corner. I would say corner is much harder, not much harder safety, but it's different being on the island. You know what I mean? It teaches you a lot about coverage. It teaches you a lot about yourself, because you're not going to win every rep. So I feel like that helped me a lot. Been playing nickel. I feel like I showed my coaches and myself how versatile I was, because it's different playing in the slot. Nowadays you got like 5'9" slots running 4-3. So being able to go against that, it only helped me when I got to safety. And when I got to safety, safety. I don't know. I was just comfortable. You know, it was a lot more calls that I had to make. You know, you're the leader of the defense when you're safety, pretty much. You're the quarterback. So I was just out there giving calls to my teammates and just having fun, really.
And Green Dot guy, were we a Green Dot guy over there?
Nah, they had Tyler Martinez.
Oh,
Tyler Martinez
okay, so
yeah.
we're getting a couple Green Dot caliber guys, but you were the team leader, and that was evident. If you watched the New Mexico State game, talk to me about how you found your voice as a leader, because I do think it's, especially in like sports, it's like weird to be a leader in a way, because it's like you're kind of putting yourself out there and almost being vulnerable, because it's like, okay, I'm going to tell these other guys what to do, and they're either going to tell me to shut up or they're going to listen to me. So, how did you find your voice as a leader?
I just feel like I was there for 3 years, so I could connect with a lot of players. I could connect with a lot of coaches, and just being able to get comfortable where I was at. You know, I've been through a lot of. I can relate to a lot of guys because I've been on the practice squad. I've been on, starting then to back up. You know what I mean? So just being able to see different eyes with everybody, I feel like I could communicate better. I could. I brought guys to the side after, to watch film or anything like that. They were confused. The guys that I started with, while we watched film on Fridays before a game. So just being able to connect and communicate, because that's the biggest part of football. I feel like it's communicating on the field, off the field, just hanging out with your guys off the field. There's a lot of things that go into leadership, but I feel like I just built my role up by just communicating with the coaches and my teammates more.
Awesome. Okay. And so you end up deciding to transfer. Walk me through the portal experience. Like, we'll get to why you picked Colorado, but like, walk me through name submits. How crazy was the phone? Were you like, this is too much?
Yeah, it was a lot. After I knew that I had a lot of potential to get a lot of schools. Once the season was coming towards the end, I knew that it was going to get kind of hectic. But I had a lot of schools reaching out to me. I probably had like 30 schools reach out to me. A couple of them have played in the playoffs. But really, to get to this point, I got my agent, and we did a lot of work together. Thanks to Marco and Dream Makers and the whole agency, Salt. I appreciate them for everything. But communicating with them and just hearing what coaches had to say and everything like that, I just felt like the best opportunity for me was Colorado. You know what I mean? Just having Coach Prime watch my film and just even speak about my film how he did. That's a blessing to have that be said about me. So once I heard that, it was pretty much a deal breaker. I knew I was at home.
Let's hit on that a little bit more. So one of the big things that Coach Prime has talked about this offseason in particular was he's been watching all of the film of the people he's brought in. Granted, he had cancer last offseason, so I'm sure he's a little preoccupied. But this offseason, he's watching everybody's film, and he goes, "Okay, Nate Mitchell, what was the eval from him? What did he tell you? What kind of stood out to you from that conversation?"
He kind of related me to Shiloh a little bit.
Okay.
Coming down to hit somebody. I feel like I'm not scared to hit anybody. I'm definitely not. So just being able to see, he said that I was physical. He said that I was fast, and he just loved the way I played. He could tell that I played with a love for the game. Not just I didn't get into it for the clicks or the money or anything like that. I just love the game of football, and I felt like he noticed that, and he told me that. He told my family that, and once I could show him what I could do on the field, come spring ball, I'm excited to show him what I can do.
Okay, so if he compared you to Shiloh, did you know Shiloh's nickname? Did that come up?
No.
Okay, so Shiloh, when he played at Colorado and probably at Jackson State as well, his nickname was the CEO of the Headache Gang, meaning.
Okay. That's why everybody's calling it the Headache Gang. I was like, what is it?
Okay. So you're just like, no, I'm fine. Like, I drank my water today. Like, we're good. So that was his nickname, kind of alluding to the fact that he was always willing to sort of be the guy to deliver the big hit. And so, are you applying for like an internship, like a part-time role as the Headache Gang? Like, how does that process work?
Hey, hopefully I can get an internship. I'm saying spring ball can be my internship, and then the season could be my, my Headache Gang. But no, I'm excited for that. Just to be able to hear that. I feel like I can give some people some headaches sometimes. So, I mean, I'm excited to put that to work when I get out there in spring ball.
Yeah, and so I think the one final question I have before we talk about why Colorado, you said you had around 30 offers, and like we don't have to dive into who any of them were, but as an athlete who was overlooked your first time around, was there a sense of like, I made it, or like sense of pride where it's like, okay, my work didn't go unnoticed?
Most definitely. I've worked my tail out to get to this point, and just to be able to be in this situation. When I moved in here, it was just like it's surreal. I worked my tail off to get here, and as you said, I didn't have any stars or anything like that. So going into this, I got my head on straight. I'm not worried about stars or anything like that. I'm just going out there to show that I can play the game of football. And eventually, I want to get to the league. So I mean, of course, I got to this point, but my dream is the league. So this is just a stepping stone to get to the point I want to get to.
Awesome. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about how Nate's grandma possibly predicted the future. I don't know. I don't want to put that on her, but she may have predicted the future, and we'll explain more.
For sure.
This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Game Time. The college football playoff, it's here, right? You want tickets, we all do, and it's hard to find those tickets. But even in the college football season, when there's tailgates and packed stadiums and being right in the middle of the action, the hardest part was getting the tickets, but that's no longer the case with Game Time. They give the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing college football tickets and experiences. The zone deal stood out. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save even more. My favorite part is you click on the seat. It shows you the view on your phone, so there's no random poll or random angle that you won't be expecting. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Okay, Nate, you've kind of shared this story before, but we're going to share it again just because I think it's honestly one of the more awesome stories I've heard. Sort of the gist is your grandma, on a long time in advance. It seemed like this was months or almost a year in the making, if I'm not mistaken. She had penned a letter, and I just know she wrote it by hand in cursive, probably hard to read a little bit, but that's just how that generation rolls. And she had sort of had this goal for you to play for Deion Sanders, and she never sent the letter. Tell me about the lore of the letter, and what were your thoughts when you found out?
Well, so fun fact, my grandma is actually an English professor at ACC in Austin. So
Love that.
It was cursive, but just to give a little insight, because I know a lot of people don't. I just keep saying it, but. So my freshman year, I played at New Mexico State, and our season was good, but Jerry Kill left. And then once he left, it was kind of like a where am I going to go kind of situation. And, I weighed my options, and in the middle of that, my grandma, she loves Prime. She's been watching this show since he was at high school, since he was coaching high school. And she sent the letter over, and she was writing it down and everything. She told me about it, and she ended up trying to send my film to him, and it didn't go how she wanted it to. But I mean, I got to this point, whatever, getting the letter over. But yeah, she's been wanting this for me for a long time. She's been a part of my journey. She's made a lot of sacrifices for me to get to this point, and being able to have her on my visit and talk to Coach Prime, it was awesome. And I'm just glad that she's able to come with me.
So you don't have to read us the letter verbatim or anything. What was like your favorite part of the letter, where it was just like where your heart sort of like warmed up a little bit because you're like, what, that is true, Grandma. Thank you.
Yeah, no, most definitely. She was just trying to tell him that she knew I could play for him, and that she believed that I could play for him. Even before I did. And just to get to this point, and her saying that, trying to get me over there, and now that it's happened, she's getting emotional even when we were talking to him. So. Just being face to face with him and her in there, she was tearing up, crying, and she got her pictures and everything she wanted to. So it was awesome. She's still excited at the moment. When she sees people talk about it on the interviews and everything, she's like, "Oh my God, you got me right talking about it." So
we had to talk about Grandma. Honestly, Grandma's the star of the show. I tried to get her. I settled for Nate. No, I'm just kidding.
No, most definitely.
But she got to meet Coach Prime as a part of your visit, like you said, and I think it's cool that you got to bring her. Walk me through their interaction, because I'm sure the letter came up, right? I'm sure she was like, "Hey, wrote you this letter. I kind of called it."
No, yeah, most definitely, because he said it in the interview that I saw. But we went into a room, this recruiting room, I guess, and there was some couches set up, and there was coaches in there, and it was Coach Prime just sitting right in front of me, and then my family was, on the side of me, and we were just talking to him about, pretty much my journey getting to this point, and what he saw in me and why they offered me and gave me the opportunity. But yeah, we were just talking. Everybody was getting their little things to say to Coach Prime, and once it got to Grandma, she got emotional and she started talking about how she tried to write him a letter, and that really struck him. I feel like because just he probably doesn't know how much like impact he has on a lot of people, and being able to sit there in front of him and my grandma tell him that, and that I'm in front of him talking to him, it was just a blessing to be able to hear her speak to him, and you could tell how like interested he was into what everybody was saying. So just him listening was just a big opportunity for me and my family.
Yeah, and I think that's a moment your family will never forget, honestly. And like, I
Yeah.
think you kind of touched on this as well. A lot of people, like specifically players, when I talk to them about Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, it's like, and I don't think anyone expects him to be like mean or anything, but it's just like I feel like a lot of times there's like a genuine like, wow, this guy is legit, so like genuine, like he cares
Yeah.
to talk, like he wants to engage with me, and I think he has such a big persona where it's like it's Coach Prime, like is he gonna like be like is he gonna care? Like I think one of the
Yeah.
coolest things I keep learning about him is like how much he cares. Like he is literally engaged with you guys. He is there to have that moment with you. And so you picked Colorado. You had a lot of offers. Why Colorado? Outside of not wanting to disappoint your grandma, of course. Why did Colorado seem like the right place for you?
I feel like just the experience in the coaching staff, Coach Livingston, he's been in the league for a minute, and eventually he got to Colorado. He said I can relate to him a lot. I feel like because he said that he was the dog on the side of the road that got picked up by Coach Prime, and I feel like I'm that type of player. I feel like a lot of people looked over me. Eventually when I did show the world what I can do, I got the offers that I wanted to, but I wasn't even worried about them. I knew where I was going. But even with that, just the experience, Coach Prime, I feel like this is where any DB would want to be. This is the best opportunity to get to where you want to be, which is the league. And I feel like just with all my options, this is the best option for me. And I'm just excited to go out there and go to work.
And I think this is going to be a fun sort of thought for you, but I feel like as a recruit, and feel free to jump in and say you're absolutely off, but like I feel like as a recruit, you almost have to sell yourself, right? Because it's like you're getting overlooked, you're not getting the stars, you're going to the camps, like you were doing all the right things. I think the only thing you didn't do right was you weren't 6'2". Like that's kind of like what it comes down to. And so you just weren't 6'2". And so you go from like I'm selling myself, like, hey, I'm really good, I try hard, I'm a good student, to now these programs are selling themselves to you. What was that like?
It was awesome. I've seen a lot of guys, with a lot of opportunities mess up, and I feel like me getting this opportunity and getting the love that I'm getting, it was awesome, but it was also like, where were y'all at when I was in high school? You know what I mean?
You're like 3 years late, but it's fine. Who's counting?
Yeah, man. But I can't really do nothing about that. That was just the way my journey has been, and I got to this point for a reason, and I'm here for a reason, and I'm going to show the world why I'm here.
And I think it's interesting. You talked about Coach Livingston. What was their role, or like what was their pitch to you, or even Coach Prime as well? Like they were like, "This is how we see you. This is what we want you to do." What did they say? What did they say to you?
So in the recruiting, Livingston just told me what he thought of my film. That I'm a ball hawk. I can play the one high in their defense, and really anywhere else I can be versatile. But yeah, he was just telling me, how I can change his defense and things that I can do to offer up. You know what I mean? And Coach Prime just, he told me how good my film was, and just being able to hear that and getting the opportunity. I mean, that's all I had to hear.
Was there a play on your film where you kind of like smirk because you're like, yeah, that's the play. That's the play right there.
It was actually it was a coverage play that I had, and it was a thing called MRT, and you got to carry two, and then you got to get one if he runs underneath. And it was a play that I made. I broke off a two, and I got a pass break up on the number one receiver. And I feel like that was a really good play that Coach Prime had highlighted, and he said that he liked, and he said that was really what gave him the green light.
Okay, little coverage knowledge there. See, when I guess, like if in my head, just a second.
Oh, sorry. There
you go. When I guess what your play was going to be, like in my head, the one play that always pops up when you look your name up, do you know which one it is?
Would it be the Sam Houston play?
The pick six. It was like a
Yeah.
71 yarder. And I was like, maybe that's the one. But I like the coverage, right? I like the coverage intangibles because that's a play where if you don't really know football, it's like, okay, he broke up a pass. But it's like you basically like your options are you make the right play or the wrong play. And either way,
Yeah.
like your decision is going to impact the result of this in a huge way. And so I think that's sort of, do you think your corner experience helped you with that? Or is this just being old and being a 3-year guy now?
Nah, I feel like everything that I've done growing up has played a part into this because I started off with my trainer when I was really young, and I feel like he really instilled the DB sense of being versatile in the game of football. You know what I mean, and just being able to watch a lot of guys come through and I've had a lot of guys come talk to me about like experiences that they had in certain plays and certain moments because I've been around a lot of good football players and just being able to make that play. I feel like everything that was just building up to a breakout. You know what I mean? Just when I made that play, it was just amazing. Being able to see all the stands and my teammates in front of me, it was just a blessing.
No oxygen tank needed, right? You could have gone another 30, right? Right?
Nah, man, I was good. I was out after the game. That was the seal of the game, so I was out after that. But
Okay,
I mean,
perfect.
yeah.
You always see those pick sixes where they're like a little tired. It's like, oh, come on. Like which I'll give you some slack in Colorado. The altitude will get you a little bit. It'll get you a little bit at first.
Oh, man.
I wanted to talk
I had
about
workouts already. I can't breathe.
Yeah, I bet. No, I remember I was there for one of the spring games and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stay in my hotel and I'll walk. And it was sort of like up a hill. And like I got there and I was like, okay, let me compose myself. Let me compose myself before I talk to anyone. But the thing that I wanted to ask you about now is you brought a couple teammates along with you, right? It's not just you coming from New Mexico. You got Tyler and you got Ezra. So let's talk about their game a little bit. What is one thing that Tyler brings to the table? He's a linebacker, by the way, for those of you who are like, who? Tyler Martinez is coming in from New Mexico, the green dot guy, as he mentioned earlier. Talk about what he brings to the table and what you like about playing with him.
Tyler's just a dog, Coach Brown said he wanted dogs, and he got one in Tyler. He works his tail off. He got injured last year. He wasn't happy about that. I was in on the play when he got injured, and it was just it sucked seeing when you work so hard for something and then it doesn't turn out how you want it to. It sucks seeing that. But even when he wasn't playing, he was a great leader off the field. He was coaching guys up on the sideline at practice, yelling at guys. He was still on us even when he wasn't playing. I know that he's ready for this opportunity. He's already working out, and getting ready. And I'm just excited that I get an opportunity with him. And it was his senior season last year, and he got hurt, but he got a medical year, so he got another year. So I mean, this is just a blessing for him to get another year and show the world what he has.
Last dance, sort of make it in the career on a good one, right? Okay,
Definitely.
The other player that came over with you is Ezra Christensen, and he was someone who he entered the portal relatively early, if I remember, like in terms of like when the portal actually opened. Like his name was in there early, and I remember going through and I watched his film, and I was like, okay, he's not the biggest guy, but he literally lined up, I swear to you, every position possible. Like I think I saw a clip of him playing corner. Probably not, but like that's how versatile he seemed to be. Like it was just like every other play he was somewhere else. So talk to me about Ezra.
Having him in front of me, it was fun to watch. He's fast, he's physical. He's not the biggest D lineman that you could find, but he's similar to me. He has a lot of heart and a lot of love for the game of football. And just being able to see him down there and working, you can see in this film like the type of player he is. He's a gamer. I mean, he makes plays. He's breaking up balls in the backfield. But just having both of them, it's gonna be a movie for sure. We've been talking about it. I'm glad we got him. He didn't even tell me. He popped it up on me because I was getting on him, and then he had just committed, and then he called me and he was like, "I'm coming." I was like, "Let's do it." But
Nice.
Yeah, man, we got a trio going, so Colorado fans are going to be able to see that, and it's going to be a movie for sure.
Is there like a sort of sense of relief as like the human element where you're like, I'm not the only new kid. Like I know some people.
No, yeah, it's awesome. Every day I see them, it's just like, what's up? You know what I mean? It's also cool when I come into a whole new team. You got a couple guys that so I mean, that'll help with the leadership as well, because I know that those are two leaders. They were two leaders on our team last year, so I mean, to add on to the leadership on the team, it's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about what that possibly could look like. We're going to take another quick break, and then we'll be right back.
Okay.
Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Joining me, Nate Mitchell. Nate, get a drink. You're good. No rush. I want to talk about your goals at Colorado, and I think this could go any direction you want it to be. Like, you want to X amount of wins, you want to make it to the X game or whatever. What goals do you have for yourself as a person, as a player, and then as a teammate? We'll do that.
So my personal goals, I feel like I just want to be a leader on this team, and I want to be an asset to this team. You know, I feel like looking outside from men last year, they were in a lot of close games, you know, similar to New Mexico State. Yeah. And I feel like I just want to be that guy that can, you know, change the game. You know, you always need that game changer, and I feel like I can be that guy. And you know, once the time comes around, I just feel like I can make those plays. You know, and I kind of want to leave. I want to have my stats similar to, you know, this year. You know, I just want to show the world that it wasn't a fluke and that I'm really a gamer. And hopefully I can get that opportunity this year and show the world what I got. And then you said is player and then
your team goals as a
team goals.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to win games. I want to win a championship. You know,
yeah.
That's what you want to do. You want to win games. So if I can go out there and win games in Colorado, it'd be a blessing. You know, I know this city, this team, and these coaches want to win games, and I think it's due. I think Colorado's been, you know, in the mix for a long time, and I feel like this is the year that we can really show the world what we got. Because I know there's a lot of players coming in that want to show the world what we got, and I've talked to a lot of players as well, and everybody has their head on straight. You know, everybody wants to win, so being able to win, that'll be a blessing.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting. You mentioned that you've talked to a lot of guys. Colorado has brought in, I think it's around 40 new players, and I think a lot of the people around the program last year were kind of shocked at how the team seemed to struggle with leadership and just sort of being in the right direction all the time. And I'm sure that was echoed to you in some way or another. Like, how do you guys plan to come together and like lead by example and all that? Like, what does that look like?
I feel like it's doing things outside of football. You know, I've been in the game for a long time, and I feel like it's all about chemistry. You know, if you can trust the guy to your left and your right, and you can, you know what I'm saying, you can go outside of football and hang out with him and have a real talk with him. You know, it's not just we're going up there at 5:30 in the morning every day to work out together and run, you know, and yell at each other. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's just things that you got to do outside of, you know, I know I'm going to have safeties here and we're going to be watching games and playing whatever, you know what I mean? So it's just being able to connect with the player outside of football and also with the coaches. You know, we got to be able to trust the coaches and the coaches got to be able to trust us. So, I mean, I feel like with the players that they have brought in, there's a lot of leaders from the talks that I've had with them, and I'm just excited to be able to buy in.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about this as well. I forgot to mention earlier, a lot of the guys that are coming in are Group of 5, FCS guys who are all conference like yourself, captains and or leaders like yourself. And I think that speaks to a mentality shift. What does that shift look like for those who may not understand?
I feel like a lot of Group of 5 guys are hungry. You know what I mean? I feel like they've been looked over a lot in their whole life, and all they wanted was this opportunity. I know, speaking for me, all I wanted was this opportunity. So I'm gonna make the most of it. You know, I'm not gonna waste this opportunity. You know, I know how much of a blessing it is, and I feel like these guys have a chip on their shoulder. You know what I mean? And even from the guys coming from Power 4, you know what I mean? They're coming here to work. And Coach Prime has I know he said it to me that he's coming in to, you know, change the Colorado building. You know what I mean? And I feel like I trust what he has going on. And I feel like I trust what this coaching staff has going on. And I feel like we're going to shock a lot of people this year.
Okay. I like that. Okay, let's get before you go, I want to know Nate the person. So I did this to Dylan Manuel too, and he was kind of shocked. I need 3 fun facts about you, and like non-football related, just like something we need to know, because if you think about it, I'm actually helping you, and I'll explain why. You're going to go to class, and they're going to be like, okay, give me a fun fact. And everyone's going to be like, oh, I have 3 siblings. That fun fact sucks. We do not care about your siblings. I mean, I'm sure your siblings are great if you have them, but like, give us something to know about you. Tell us about Nate the person.
I feel like I'm just a very down-to-earth dude. I feel like I can go outside, you know what I'm saying, get a coffee or just, you know, read a magazine or anything like that. You know, I feel like I'm just a chill dude. I feel like anybody can talk to me. I love talking. I love interviews. I love when people come up to me to ask pictures or sign autographs or anything like that. You know, I feel like I'm just an easy guy to talk to. I feel like I'm a whole different persona when I'm on the football field. But, you know, outside of football, I'm just a chill guy. Number two, I would say I like to go in nature. You know, New Mexico, Las Cruces, there's a lot of mountains and a lot of trails and, you know, things of that nature. And I just like to walk around or just mess with water or go on trails or anything like that. I might get a bike out here. I don't know. I saw some trails, so that's kind of exciting.
Okay.
And number three, I'd probably say I just like playing the game and just chilling. You know, I mean, on my off day, I probably just eat and chill.
Okay. No, I mean, that's great. Like, I wanted to follow up on two of your facts though.
Mhm.
First one, you said you're a coffee guy. Do you have a specific, like, is it just like straight black coffee, or you get a little fancy with it?
Man, I get a hazelnut latte. You know, I have a lot of people
Okay.
I have a lot of friends that get a lot of different things, but I just stick with the normal hazelnut.
Okay, and then your go-to game on the sticks. What is the one game where you're like, no one's beating me in this, if there is one?
Probably Madden 26.
Okay.
We're
Okay.
gonna get active real soon.
What team are you using?
49ers.
Okay.
The line's been crazy lately, so I don't know. I might go.
I like that. Okay. Nate Mitchell, appreciate you hopping on. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. Tell the people where they can find you on social media and stuff, so that way maybe get the follower count up even more, right? Send some more Colorado fans your way.
For sure. My Instagram is in Mitchell with a 4 for the E, so it's in Mitchell 4LL. But and then my Twitter or my X is Naeten Mitchell, capital N, capital M. So yeah, man, I just hope Buff Nation will, you know, accept me, and I'm just excited to show y'all what I got, man. I'm just ready to go to work.
Nate, it's been a pleasure getting to talk to you. I'm Kevin Borba, host of Locked On Buffs. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. And I will see all of you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.
Appreciate you, Kev.